Hello, welcome back to Nostalgia Drive. This is episode 13 of my Saya no Uta playthrough. The last time we just came out with Koji and Ryoko from Ogai's secret lair in the well. So we're just ending up coming out of the cabin now. When he steps out of the cabin's front door, Koji shivers as the wind tears into his skin. To his surprise, the outside air is even colder than the mud at the bottom of the well. Perhaps the cramped space mitigated the cold somewhat. If he had been exposed to this chill all night long, he would surely have frozen to death. That's horrible. Koji finds two cars parked in the yard. The smaller car next to his must be Roko's. When he sits behind the wheel of his car, he gets some relief from the feeling that he has taken the first step, however small, back into his world. He sips a sports drink, wetting his parched throat, then washes down some jelly. His stomach rebels at the sudden influx of food after 36 hours on empty. You had to wait 36 hours, that's crazy, man. That's that's nearly basically 2 whole days, so... But he manages to force down the urge to vomit. Koji needs the energy. No matter how hard it is, he must regain enough stamina to overcome the challenges ahead. After forcing down as much food as he can handle, Koji leans back in his seat and takes a short break. When he begins to feel like himself again, he reaches into the back seat and pulls his spare cell phone out of his bag. He never expected that carrying 2 phones would be such a stroke of luck. As he calls up Fuminori's number and prepares to hit send, Koji is overcome by a flood of emotion. I don't really know why he would be contacting Fuminori at this point. I guess he kind of wants to know why he did it. Rage, despair, sorrow, pity. He's unable to decide what to feel towards his friend. However, there is no time to dwell on he passed. Every second lost diminishes the chance of saving Omi and Yo. Yeah, Omi's not getting saved and Yo's not either now. Koji refuses to consider that it may already be too late. He steels himself and presses the button, then holds the phone to his ear as it rings. The shrill sound seems to go on for longer than it ever has in his life. Right now, Fuminori's phone must be displaying the name of the caller. Koji wonders what his reaction will be when he sees it. Yeah, Fuminori wasn't expecting that, was he? The call goes through. In the silence on the other end of the phone, Koji senses surprise, apprehension, and dark fury. Feeling slightly gratified, Koji delivers the first jab.
Yo. そんなに意外か死人からの電話は
Yeah, Fuminori would not expect Koji to live. As Koji is about to answer, an idea suddenly comes to him.
井戸の底に仕掛けがあったのさ地下の隠し部屋に行くためのな
Ah, so he's trying to bait out Fuminori to go to it. Koji says a plan forming rapidly in his mind. It led to a hidden underground lab. He pauses to let that sink in, then with satisfaction filling his voice, he says, Oh my god. Koji, man. Fuminori's gasp tells Koji that the advantage is his. Keeping his voice bold, he decides to further exaggerate the truth.
何もかも分かったサヤってやつのことも全部お前たちは終わりだよFuminori
Oh my god. I love how much he's bluffing about this.
何もかもバラしてやるところ構わずにぶちまけてやる証拠はちゃんと揃ってるからな貴様は
He's so annoyed. It's obvious from Fuminori's tone that rage has overwhelmed his reason. Koji's bluff is working perfectly. His victory is tainted. However, as Fuminori's response to the name Saya brings a cry of anguish from the corner of his heart that still wants to believe his friend can be saved.
咲坂君がこのサヤと呼ばれるものとすでに深く関わっているのなら
Yoko's words play back in his head. sounding even colder than before.
彼はもう引き返せないところまで踏み込んでいる。
He mustn't allow emotion to sway
海
him.
のり、近江と筑波はどこだ？
Koji suddenly switches topics, trying to keep Fuminori off balance. It all comes down to
俺にだっ
this.
て情けはある。お前の出方次第では考えんでもない。お前がこれ以上誰も傷つけないというのなら、俺にしたことは忘れてやる。この別荘で見つけたことも。
Yeah, there's no way Koji's going to
俺
do
だって
that.
これ以上、お前と鞘に関わり合いを持つのは願い下げなんだ。近江たちさえ無事に戻ればいい。
近江とようね。
Fuminori voice trails off. He's obviously trying to decide how far Koji can be trusted. And whenever there's room for negotiation, Fuminori has been called out, and now it's time for him to show his hand.
近江のことは本当に知らない。彼女は僕の家まで来ていない。でもよう。
Fuminori pauses and gives a knowing chuckle that sends chills off of Koji's spine.
どうだかな。彼女自身が戻りたがるかどうか。
お前のところにいるんだな。
Koji is relieved to learn Yo's location and that she is at least still alive. At the same time, however, he remembers that horrifying phone call. It's clear now that Fuminori played some part in Yo's suffering. Had she already fallen into his trap back then? What has happened to her? How is she being treated?
彼女はね、念願かなってようやく僕の持ち物になったんだよ。お前と近江のお膳立てもようやく実を結んだわけだな。
I swear Fuminori's so screwed up, man. I guess you and Omi got what you wanted after all. Koji feels despair settle over his soul. How much lower will this man go? Must Fuminori seek out and destroy every memory of the friendship they once
筑波を
shared?
解放しろ。彼女の安全を確認したら、お前らについての証拠を破棄してやる。
I feel like Koji feels like he's like interrogating like and negotiating with terrorists here, but he doesn't know what they've actually done to like Yo.
信用できるか。そっちが責任。
Yeah, you wouldn't trust him at
お
all.
前に選択の余地を与えるつもりはないよ、海のり。
Koji instinctively realizes that it's dangerous to push his bluff any further.
後でまた連絡する。それまでによく考えておけ。
He hangs up without waiting for a response. Fuminori doesn't know that Koji is still at the cabin in Tochigi right now. He's probably worrying about whenever Koji will show up in 1 hour or a minute. Koji hopes that he'll be able to take advantage of Fuminori's confusion. 3 hours, that's how long it will take to race all the way back to Tokyo. Koji is afraid that his body won't carry him through such a long drive. His mind is clear, but his limbs still feel half asleep, like they're weighed down with lead. Although he knows that he has to stay resolute, Koji still longs for the peace he had just a few days ago, when life or death struggles were the furthest thing from his mind. Back then, he could never have imagined himself fighting to rescue a friend from the clutches of a madman. When each passing moment, he feels himself becoming less like the person he was. When all of this is over, will he be able to return to his old life? Or will this change continue until it's consumed him utterly? Time is against him. Every second that passes is wasted. Even so, he decides to allow himself just 5 minutes of weakness. For exactly 5 minutes, he leans against the steering wheel and cries. And when his tears have run dry and his heart is calm, Koji starts up his car and drives away. Are we back at Fuminori's perspective here? It must be. I stare at the silent phone on my hand. There is anger, of course, but something cold and heavy holds my emotions in check. The sense of danger. To be honest, I'm surprised at how calm I am.
主人様。
Oh god, it's Yo. Yo looks up at me apprehensively, her head between my thighs. She was attending to me throughout the call. That's just good, man. The remaining fragments of her memory seem to have joined together. As she's regained some degree of speech, upon realising this last night, Saya began to teach her language once more. I assume she finds our pet's efforts amusing. The pleasure from her ministrations threatens to impede my thoughts, and besides my arousal has vanished. At first I consider making her stop. When I gaze into her puppy dog eyes, however, I begin to think differently. Thanks to Saya, I have a family once again. For the first time, I'm becoming aware of the responsibility that places on me. I am now the head of a new Sakisaka household, as well as its only male member. It is my duty to protect, comfort, and ensure the happiness of the women living under my roof. With that in mind, I know that I mustn't show fear or confusion. That would only cause him distress. I entrust myself to Yo's eager touch, basking in the pleasure with one part of my mind contemplating our current predicament with the other. It's clear that I made a grave error when I failed to finish Koji off 2 days ago. Right now I need to set my frustration and anger aside and deal with the problem logically. It's time to leave. I have no way of knowing when Koji escaped from the well, or how much he has learned, or how many people he has contact with since then. Now that it's impossible to know how far the problem has spread, merely disposing of Koji won't guarantee your safety. When the enemy has poisoned your water supply, you can't take the risk that even one drop might remain. Your only choice is to stop the drinking water. Now, I wonder if he's going to lie to Saya or not. Saya returns from the kitchen, where she'd gone in a search for a midnight snack. She's munching on her favourite spare ribs. Purging myself of unease and impatience, I respond with a casual shrug. Oh, she is in. By breaking the news suddenly and without any trace of anxiety, I'm able to avoid frightening Saya. Instead, she's merely surprised. I knew that remaining calm would work. Moreover, I'm currently being pleasured by Yo, and it would be hard for anyone to get too serious under these circumstances. Yeah, they're going to need it, aren't they? Because they're going to end up getting caught. I don't know if she wants to though. Saya lowers her eyes and strokes her chin thoughtfully. Yeah, they're going to report. Aye, they're going to do reports of Suzumi's family missing. I can tell that she's reluctant to leave, but at least there is no sadness in her expression. Everything will be fine. I will protect my life with Saya just as I have up until now. I have that power. Knowing that we've overcome one problem fills me with new confidence. So I wonder where they're actually going to go. I was thinking maybe they might go to one of Ogai's other houses, maybe. I could be wrong, but... We can travel light and take the Suzumi's family car. Is that not risky as well, though, if they take his car, though? I better withdraw everything that's left in my bank account and carry it as cash. I also need a weapon, something more reliable than a butcher's knife. Koji will most likely follow. He thinks that Yo can be saved, however I'm not abandoning this house just to run away. As long as Koji knows our location, we're stuck on the defence. Leaving gives me the chance to gain the initiative and deal with him at a place of my choosing. The next time we meet, I'll kill him with my own 2 hands. God. I'll make sure to wring every last drop of life out of his body. Jesus Christ, man. A shiver runs through me as I anticipate the battle ahead, and my bloodlust burns like osmotic fire. When Ryoko looks up, the morning sun is already streaming in through the window. Tired from hours of poring over files, she removes her glasses and massages her aching eyes. Her dreams are always filled with horror, yet the night she just spent was more nightmarish than them all, and it's not over yet. She's only just set foot on the threshold. As expected, the files left by Ogai Masahiko were not the sort that Roko could simply pick up and read. Fortunately, Ogai had been too old-fashioned to put his trust in electronic media. If he encrypted his files on a computer, she would have to find a hacker to decipher them. In fact, he had not employed any kind of code in his writing. That would have been too time-consuming by hand. The method of obfuscation he did use was quite simple. Of the files Roko pulled from his underground lab, the majority turned out to be notes, and these from Ogai's days as a student. The important papers were the diaries and research notes that had been scattered throughout the piles of worthless scrap. At first, she was unable to understand the documents that she had found. Each sheet was covered with a text on one side and a blank on the other. Each line was completely unrelated to the next, making it impossible to glean any meaning from the whole. The trick revealed itself. However, while she was sorting the pages that made no sense, she found that in each line continued onto the same line of a different page. In Ogai's diary, for example, the first day began on the first line, then continued not with the next line, but with the first line on the next page. Similarly, the second day was the second line, third day was the third line, and so on and so forth. After filling all the lines on one set of pages, Ogai had torn them out and scattered them among his other files. There was no regularity to how the pages were numbered. Of course, unable to locate any sort of key or legend, Roko has no choice but to figure out the page order manually. Despite knowing that this task would be exhausting, Roko set to it valiantly. After separating all the loose leaf sheets from the jumbled files, she began to painstakingly process of linking pages together according to the contents of the first line. She found that Ogai had dismantled and scattered his diary each time. He completed a number of days equal to the lines on one page, and had done the same with his research notes every 30 pages or so. The diary was much easier to restore because the entries varied in length. Later pages had larger numbers of blank lines. The page with only one line, therefore, was the last page of the diary, and those with the most blank spaces could be considered closer to the end. Roko's perseverance has paid off, for she has already succeeded in restoring several volumes of Ogai's diary. As she reads them, she feels despair draining her spirit, as it has so many times before. The cursed feeling of powerlessness that comes with knowing hidden truths. Those who have tasted it once shall be beaten down by it again and again until the day they die. All secrets are connected after all. Once you have glimpsed even the tiniest fraction of the world's true face, you have no choice but to watch in horror as the veil rolls itself back inch by inch. All that remains is to wait for the day when insanity will crush your reason under its ever-mounting weight. Nice, so we're hopefully going to learn about like Ogai and what he was actually doing. Fingers crossed here that this diary actually has like information on it. Because I feel like he's been hinted at so long, Ogai, that we just didn't know about him. I've succeeded in communicating with the organism. It shows enormous curiosity and its intelligence is beyond doubt. See research notes for confirmed vocal patterns and body language. Its appetite for knowledge is insatiable, and its learning speed is off the charts. However, it exhibits absolutely no desire to be recognised as an individual. Its ego appears to be quite weak, suggesting a psyche wholly unlike that of a human. So he must be talking about Saya, I think. The speed of the organism's linguistic development is astounding. When I laughed at its mispronunciations, it immediately picked up the concept of puns. Ever since, it has been employing its entire vocabulary in an attempt to find puns that will make me laugh. Perhaps in a few days' time, it will have learned enough language for us to communicate freely. The organism's command of spoken language is now sufficient to facilitate higher level discourse. but although it has regaled with me questions all day, it remains unable to answer any of mine's. Its replies suggest it's gained awareness only after materialising in this universe. It has no knowledge of where it came from. While I'm disappointed, the fact that it's reached a level of intelligence only 1 week after starting to think tells me that there is no end to what I can learn from it. Hypothesis. It is not a naturally occurring organism, but was created by an even more sophisticated sentient life form. This would explain why it has no ego yet possesses such a hunger for knowledge. It might be some sort of resonance drone that was sent from another world. So is it created by Ogai then, or is it from space maybe, or it's an alien maybe? Ryoko smiles humorously for the umpteenth time since she started reading. How wonderful it would be if she could laugh the diary off as the delusions of a madman or the work of a science fiction author. Alas, she knows far too much. When she thinks back to the many horrors that Ogai brought into her life, the words before her take on a chilling credibility. I have confirmed that organism's brain power far surpasses any humans. This morning I taught it about prime numbers after it explained the Lucas Lefmere test for primes. It immediately began to list examples that it had calculated in its head. I was only able to confirm by memory up to the number 10, M89, but it continued to list further examples without any trouble. I left it to its calculations, and when I returned a few hours later, I discovered it had written down more than 70 of them. God. Computers all over the world are currently working to calculate primes, but the last one I remember being found was the 39th back in 2001. When I enter several of the results into my laptop and run the Lucas Lefmere test on them, I found that everyone was correct. The same is no doubt true of the rest. After all, this organism has never shown the pathological need for respect that would lead it to lie about its accomplishments. I see no reason to doubt its ferocity. If I could reveal to the world an experiment method for discovering primes, the prize money would make me a billionaire. The organism's computational speed exceeds that of even the most powerful supercomputers. I can only conclude that its cognitive faculties are beyond anything humanity can imagine. At the organism's request, we have begun a new field of study. Despite its immeasurable aptitude for mathematics, it now desires to concentrate on sociology and the natural sciences. Perhaps our math problems are simply too elementary for it. It has shown especially keen interest in the means by which organisms reproduce and multiply. As it possesses nothing that could be called emotion, I hesitate to use this description, but when it learned about DNA, it seemed somehow excited. So is that why Saya wants to get so close to humans, and I'm assuming Fuminori all the time? In fact, the organism itself seemed surprised by its reaction. When asked about the nature of the impulse, the organism decided to label it instinct. If the description is indeed accurate, then this is an extremely significant development. It would mean that there is a deeper level to its psyche than just the knowledge it has acquired since coming to this world. If I can use this discovery to trace its roots, I might be able to learn what it truly is. No candidates for the plane and world of the organism's origin are discussed in my writings on the Silver Key filled separately. I spent the whole day carrying books into its rooms. Apparently the organism is no longer satisfied with the knowledge I am able to impart. It should come as no surprise considering its linguistic prowess, but the speed of which it consumes text is astonishing. Yeah, because even Saya was able to read Fuminori's sorry, I think it was MRI brain scans and everything. The diary continues for some time, consolidating the intimate relationship between Ogai and the organism. In the back of her mind, Roko imagines the old doctor climbing down the well in the middle of the night to hold a congress with some inhuman creature in the bizarre laboratory. The image is disturbingly similar to the nightmares that has shattered the silence of many nights with her screams. What follows, however, makes even her worst nightmare pale in comparison. The organism has made a very strange request. This is the first time it has asked for anything other than food and reading materials. I can hardly believe it, but it wants to consume the sperm of living creatures. Oh god. This is separate from its desire for food. Once again, it's describing that this impulse is instinctive. Now it's declared itself a life form that requires a seed of males. It's begun to identify itself as female. After today, I suppose I shall have to start calling this organism a she. Yeah, so he's definitely talking about Saya here, there's no doubt he is. Is the personality that she's begun to exhibit really just an imitation created for her amusement? Ever since she started to immerse herself in her literature, she's been acting astonishingly human. She identifies herself as female and already possesses an enormous store of cultural knowledge. She's trying to create a human identity for herself based on these. I've seen her laugh, grow angry, and today she cried. Is she just copying her emotional displays? If not, then she already is. Is the soul something that an intelligent life form can acquire? I feel that I'm witnessing something more mysterious than the genesis of life itself. Today is her birthday. Although it's a year late, I want to give her a special gift. Saya was the name of my mother's cat. In childhood, she was my sole friend and my beloved. I decided long ago that if I were ever blessed with children, I would give this name to my daughter. Happy birthday, Saya. Let this be the name of your soul, you've earned it. The ability that Saya has discovered in herself is showing more extraordinary results each day. I have no doubt that she is a kind of artist. What exactly is it that she created in her body from that rat semen? I gave her. At this point I can only summarise that the type of retrovirus, a reverse transcriptase enzyme that creates exactly what she desires. The rat that has been transformed by her art are so very beautiful now. The many enzymes secreted by her body and various appendages she uses are discussed in detail in my biological observations, filed separately. Here, I will say this. By witnessing Saya perform her operations on several rats, I have gained much confidence in my theory that her body is designed specifically to manipulate the biological of other organisms. Roko looks grimly at the still unsorted mountain of research notes. When she finally manages to separate those papers, she will probably find that many other files mentioned in the diary. Ogai's biological observations, at the very least. She wants to look through those before facing the thing called Saya. Under no circumstances does she want to go out into a battle unprepared. Yeah, I kinda get that, because Saya is like probably capable of so much more than she knows. She looks at her watch and sees that it's already 7 in the morning. Assuming Tono Koji makes no stops, he should be arriving in Tokyo about now. Now that it's too late, she wishes that she stopped this stubborn fool from leaving, even if she had to shoot him, and I like to do it. Right, so I think this is probably the best point to end the episode. So it seems like Koji's back in Tokyo, and I don't know if he's going to go to Fuminori's house or what's going to happen here. We'll just need to see. But it's good to learn a bit more about Saya and Ogai now. So the only thing, the mystery we don't really know still, is if Saya's actually like, is she an alien or is it something that Ogai's created? I feel like it might be Ogai's just discovered Saya, but I could be wrong. We'll just need to find out later on though. But I'll see you in the next episode of Saya no Uta. Bye!